Phase Zero, Season 4, Episode 21 in your eyeballs if you're on YouTube, in your ear holes if you're in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the places podcasts are available. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a massive, chonky edition of Phase Zero today. So much to talk about, so we're going to get through intros here pretty quickly. You already know us, but I'm still BD, and I have Jenna Anderson here with me today.
Hey, everybody.
And we have Aaron Perrine.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on is a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
We have a lot. So here's how today's show is going to go. Phase 1, it's all movie updates from Deadpool and Wolverine to X-Men to Fantastic Four to Star-Lord to George Miller. Then Phase 2 of the show is all TV updates. We got some exclusives, as you may call them. We got all the Marvel upfront stuff to talk about. Brad Winderbaum was yapping his yap with Jenna, so that's going to be fun to hear about. And then in Phase 3, we had a whole phase of Phase 0 today for Spider-Man updates because there has been so much to talk about on the Spider-Man front. Actually, I just noticed we don't even have the fact that Venom: The Last Dance is the last Venom movie in our part of that show. But I feel like that's all there is to say about that. So you heard it here, and we're not going to revisit it later in the show. But yeah, so that's the rundown for today's show. We're not going to talk spoilers for anything. Our X-Men 97 episode is out there now. We're still trying to figure out if we're going to be able to get our X-Men Dark Phoenix Road to Deadpool and Wolverine episode recorded on Monday because Monday's a holiday. So we're trying to figure out if we're going to be able to get that done. So we'll let you know on social media if that's happening. But if you're joining us live, thank you so much. If you're listening to us in podcast form, thank you so much. Let's jump in. Jenna, Aaron, we ready to go here today? This is going to be a big, big, chonky, energetic show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Woo! Woo! All right. Phase 1 of Phase 0, Season 4, Episode 21. It is our May 22nd, 2024 edition, and we're starting with movie updates. Deadpool and Wolverine tickets went on sale. A new teaser dropped on Monday. It didn't have a ton of new footage in it, really only the ending with a little dirty joke there, classic Deadpool and Wolverine, but they did sneak a QR code in there. We'll get to that in a second. It broke the Fandango ticket sales record for 2024. It was the most first-day pre-sales for any movie this year. Nobody's surprised, right?
No.
It's just in my opinion, I don't think there's any doubt this is going to be the biggest movie of the year. But I do think this really puts in perspective what a juggernaut the MCU was in years prior, because it used to just be every movie was breaking every record rather than just the year's record. It puts in perspective how incredible it was that there are so many billion-dollar movies, not just Marvel, but otherwise. Like, people were cranking out billion-dollar movies, and we were like, oh, every blockbuster makes $1 billion. This year is really starting to put in perspective that's a pretty impressive accomplishment that movie studios and the MCU specifically had been pulling off, seemingly month after month back from like 2016 to 2019.
I also think it's a thing of like, this record is just pre-sale tickets. And like a lot of movies, as Film Twitter has debated ad nauseum, a lot of movies that are coming out lately don't necessarily require you to order your tickets 2 months in advance. So I think it makes sense that this is easily breaking the record. I could see other movies in the later part of this year possibly getting close to it. But like, especially when it's 2 months out, it's crazy to me that tickets are on sale this early. But I'm like glad that they are, because now anyone who watches a TV spot or hears anything about the movie can immediately go get tickets. And like, that's a great idea.
Did y'all buy tickets yet?
No, because I'm going to be in San Diego, hopefully.
Right. I bought tickets for San Diego. If y'all are in San Diego, I'll see you at the IMAX.
Cool.
Aaron, did you buy tickets yet?
No, because we have to talk about it on camera. Where are you going to see it so we can go see it together?
We'll see. Here's the thing. My theater was filling up. That's why I bought them.
Wow.
But I'll be honest, I bought 2 sets of 2. So just in case anybody in the Phase Zero or the comic book crew needed tickets, I had 2 spares because I knew me and Richard were probably going to go. Mm-hmm. And then I had 2 extras. Also, the IMAX seats were a little close, so I don't want to give myself too much credit as like the nice guy. I was also like, all right, there's a screening 15 minutes later. If these seats are too close to the IMAX screen and nobody else wants the other 2 tickets, maybe me and Richard just pop into the 9:30 screening instead and sit a little more comfortably from the screen. Anyway, a new synopsis was released for Deadpool and Wolverine. Quote, Marvel Studios presents their most significant mistake to date, Deadpool and Wolverine. A listless Wade Wilson toils away in civilian life, his days as the morally flexible mercenary, Deadpool behind him. When his homeworld faces an existential threat, Wade must reluctantly suit up again with an even more reluctantist. He must convince a reluctant Wolverine to... F word. Synopsises are so effing stupid. So Marvel Studios is really letting you know this is an R-rated movie right out of the gate. Remember when people were like, are they going to make Deadpool R-rated? Now they're dropping F-bombs in the synopsis.
Yeah, I mean, also is a signifier of that. Guess what? Atlanta really changed the game because we didn't used to get silly synopsises like this before that TV show, really, where the synopsis has nothing to do with the actual plot of the movie, other than the fact that, hey, Deadpool and Wolverine together, you know nothing about the rest of the movie. It is a easy way to sidestep. Hey, what is the movie actually about? We've never heard the words Cassandra Nova. We've never heard the words The Void. The words TVA aren't in here. Like, there is some other shenanigans being hidden by all this merriment and QR codes.
Yeah.
I woke up on Monday and I was so worried that the teaser we were going to get for tickets being on sale was going to spoil something. Like we were going to get some sort of cameo, some sort of something that would have been better to see in theaters. I'm so glad we didn't do that. And yeah, to Aaron's point, I'm glad the synopsis tells us like next to nothing. The old synopsis they had was literally a sentence long. So I'm glad that this is a little bit longer, but I love that we still know absolutely nothing.
This marketing campaign makes it seem so unnecessary that it was revealed that Elektra's allegedly in the movie, because obviously there's a lot of people in this movie, tons of people we haven't seen yet, but that felt like a thing like, oh, they're about to go film outside, we're going to get set photos of her, this is why it's coming out. There's not been a word about that since.
Nope.
And there's other people in this movie that there's not a word, even that much of a word about, that they've kept a secret. So part of me is like, did they just drop that one out there? Did that one get out there? Was this like a marketing ploy through the media to let people know that people are coming back for this movie, to get the fans excited? Or did that just kind of somehow slip through some cracks? THR got it, ran it, or was it Deadline? I don't know, one of them. And I don't know, but I do kind of wish that we didn't know that.
But you get an excuse to talk about Jennifer Garner
I
on this
know.
show like a million times. So I
True.
think you win regardless. But yeah, I wish we knew absolutely nothing. But even then, I gaslight myself as to whether or not she's even in this movie. Because as you said, we've seen no footage. We
True.
have no set photos. So it's like even the surprise of how and if she's actually in the movie still works for me, even though we know those reports.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, I know of an actor who filmed for Cap 4, has been entirely cut out of the movie with the reshoot. So those things can happen, you know, and Deadpool is currently reshooting right now. So who knows? But one last thing, that QR code Aaron referenced, there was a QR code between Wolverine's legs in one of the new teasers on Ryan Reynolds' pages. Ryan Reynolds released a disclaimer for the movie, and instead of talk about it, you could just listen to this sweet, you know, Ryan Reynolds Canadian voice here.
We're very excited to be joining you July 26th. Many of you are very excited, but we should set the table correctly. This film is as paper-thin as a sequel to Battlefield Earth. We're mostly going to beat each other senseless, make enemies with Disney, tell a few dick jokes, make a few jokes at my expense, make a lot of jokes at Hugh's expense, and completely sidestep Marvel's mandated after-credit sequence, which, if you haven't figured it out yet, is always just a commercial for another movie, which will invariably end with a commercial for another movie. So sit back, relax, let us lower your IQ and raise your heart rate while we travel to a vapid dreamland, a place where grown men and grown women walk around in tights and act like it's not a giant cultural cry for help. This is cinema.
I'm all for it. I'm all for the little trolling of Marvel, trolling of film Twitter, all that stuff. It's great. I think the marketing for this movie is just, it's been fantastic.
It is really clever. I
Wait, what?
do give that disclaimer a lot of credit. And the Battlefield Earth reference and just some of the other stuff is very funny. Yeah, are we looking up the news that is being dropped in the comments?
Wait, what happened? What happened?
Yeah, I'm on it. Go, Jenna.
Yeah, Aaron
Go.
research. Let's just keep yapping about the disclaimer.
Go. Talk.
But yeah.
Jenna, I think you got the next one here.
Yes, I do. But yeah, so while we researched possibly breaking news in the middle of the show, it would be so nice to have it be breaking during and not a post-credit scene. The X-Men movie has a writer. We talked about this on our bonus episode a couple weeks ago. We kind of talked about the short list and what we wanted to see. Aaron, what's up?
It's real.
It is.
We could throw that into our TV portion of the show.
Yeah.
Give me a
we'll talk
breaking Richard / whoever, whatever we're throwing in.
Yeah, we will
later.
sort that into our TV portion of the show. If you have no idea what we're talking about, stay tuned, and we will all discover it together. But yeah, so the X-Men reboot has a writer. It's Michael Leslie, who wrote The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which was the Hunger Games prequel, and is also writing Now You See Me 3. I personally was going to be happy with either of the names that were set on the shortlist because the other guy was also on Survivor, which is very funny to me. I would have been very curious to see how he would have written the X-Men. But yeah, so we have a writer. How do you guys feel about it?
I haven't seen the Hunger Games prequel yet. I'm going to be honest. I like Now You See Me. I tweeted yesterday, oh, the X-Men 97 team was right there. I know they're not actually going to write the X-Men movie. I was mostly kidding. Cool. Obviously not going to be the only writer on this movie. Hard to say much about it. I really need to watch Hunger Games before I can weigh in. So this was just a bunch of useless blabber, I think, from me.
I will say Jamie's not here, but she and I both did watch the Hunger Games prequel, and it does a really good job of not only like adapting the book but changing things, but it also juggles this like really big ensemble and this like huge love story at the center of it, which is like on paper a lot of what I would want out of a live action X-Men movie. So like I'm hopeful.
That's actually the first thing I was going to ask you
Mhm.
when I found out you had seen it was, did they balance an ensemble well in Hunger
Yes.
Games? That's
There are a
important.
lot of characters in the book who like kind of still fade in the background because they only matter so much into the story, but like the characters that do play a pivotal role, like they each get an arc. So I'm hopeful that he could juggle like a dozen different X-Men and do it well.
I think that the timing is interesting. The timing is mad suspicious. It's mad
Ooh.
suspicious.
Ooh.
Why would you have the writer get announced for this movie and the next movie and the only movie of this year, in fact, is Big Mutant Fest.
Oh,
So I think the
It's-
timing is a little suspicious.
I
for
dare
them.
say the Fox properties are about to really carry the MCU forward.
Yeah.
Ooh, boy.
I mean, they're not Fox. The properties once owned by Fox, because I don't think, Alexandra
20th Century's
Shipp
like
is
a
going to be playing
closet now.
Score. What?
20th Century's like a closet now. Like it's just,
Yeah.
that's it. That's all that's there.
But I mean, our next topic is Fantastic Four, and that is in itself going to, I think, be a huge part of this. And these are both, previously owned by Fox.
Yeah. Okay. So we got this, and this was slightly after an episode, so it was like they can't keep doing this situation. Fantastic Four casting. We got Ralph. Is it Innocent as
think so.
Galactus? Oh man, that's funny. Do the voice.
Oh yeah, we have this clip of him talking just shows the Galactus voice perfectly.
Be couched in secrecy and codes and everything, so you don't really kind of know what you're getting involved with at the start. So I was asked to get involved in this video game and play this character, and things are very couched in secrecy and codes and everything, so you don't really kind of know what you're getting involved with at the start.
I mean, I wanted to play that just because I saw it going around Twitter, and I was like, it just shows you the voice.
I hope they modulate him as little as humanly possible because like that voice works so well. I'm also glad that they announced this when they did because I know we're talking about 2 weeks worth of news and it all blurred together. But John Malkovich, who we'll talk about, had just gotten cast that morning, and I'm glad we could only have like mere hours of people speculating that he was Galactus before we confirmed like no, this is actually Galactus. So yeah, I'm super excited.
So yes, as Jenna said, John Malkovich as someone, and Natasha Lyonne as someone. Herbie, please. Yeah, just a bunch of people, bunch of folks. We don't know who they're playing, but I gotta say, my first reaction to this was, remember how we spent multiple episodes of this place being like, people don't want to sign on for these things anymore. Like John Malkovich is like a real thing. Like Natasha Lyonne is like the biggest thing on Peacock. Like what? And your boy, AEW star himself. Is it Paul Walter Hauser in this thing too?
Yeah, we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, like there's like a bunch of people. I mean, I
Future
hope he gets his Emmy
GCW champion
back. He's
or MLW champion.
MLW champion.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four cast come together.
I really hope Natasha Lyonne is Herbie. I just need to say that now because like there were rumors going around that like they were maybe going to cast a female Herbie, and I know Jamie's not here, and Jamie campaigned for that very hard. So like in her absence, I'm going to also advocate for that because I can just so clearly hear the like neurotic kind of crazy manic energy from Natasha Lyonne as Herbie. I think that would be really fun.
It could be fun. That could be a lot of fun.
It's just interesting because like also it gives them the power to like be in it but not have to show up and be in
Right.
Yeah.
shape. You could just film it in the closet constantly, and that's fun. That's
Bradley
really good.
Cooper as Rocket. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Vin Diesel as Groot.
Yeah.
Screwed. Yes.
Right.
Oh. So yeah, and then Jenna, More Fantastic Four.
Yeah. So on the topic of Fantastic Four, this was almost like 2 weeks ago when this news came out, but it kind of, I wrote a piece about this on the site, kind of speculating about this. So THR was reporting about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie and saying that Sigourney Weaver had joined the cast, and they were talking about when the movie was going to film and how intensive Pedro Pascal's filming of it would be, because they said that he would start filming Fantastic Four in July of this year. Fantastic Four is scheduled at this point to come out in July of 2025. Do we think this movie is going to get delayed? Because even just using Thunderbolts as an example, it has had like a 16-month production. And as far as we know, there are only like 2-ish characters that require extensive VFX and CGI. Whereas like every single character in this movie, all of the Fantastic Four, Galactus, Shia LaBeouf, Herbie, anyone else is going to require like massive amounts of CGI. And I would be shocked if they can get that all out in a year. And I honestly don't want them to. So how do you guys feel?
I have no doubt this is getting delayed, and we'll know the new date at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
What my understanding is that July is when they're showing up for rehearsals.
Wow.
So I don't think there's, I mean, I'd be shocked if this movie is able to hit, release within a year of rehearsal starting. So yeah, I think San Diego Comic-Con 1 year before this movie is scheduled to be released is when we're going to find out it's not happening. Because July 27th would be the Marvel Studios panel, which I'm pretty sure is happening. Brad Winderbaum, Kevin Feige, if you're listening, I volunteer as tribute to host. But we all want that panel. We all expect that panel to do big things for the MCU's timeline in our world. And I think one of those things is a new date for Fantastic Four. And maybe like an Avengers movie gets moved up or something. Maybe not up, but jumps it in the release order, or who knows? Who knows?
That is interesting. But also to use everybody's stuff against them. Let's go to what people have said. Bob Iger really stumping for Fantastic Four and all of the press stuff at Upfronts and at Morgan Stanley Conference and another weird other event where he's in some sort of cut off vest talking to investors about things. Also, IMAX's solicits for next year have already come out, and guess what date Fantastic Four has exclusivity for 4 weeks almost in is that July date.
Moved around, though.
They got burned on the Marvels last year. And Blade is still in that weird IMAX thing, which is funny as heck to me too. I'm gonna write that for the site.
Because they already said they're
IMAX only
limiting
knows
it.
so much. Yeah,
Huh?
IMAX only knows so much.
I know,
think
but
at
I'm
this
saying
point-
they don't want to get burned. Is what I'm saying. I think they would go to Disney and be like, yo, we can't have this happen again with stuff just moving, because they're taking on water too,
Right.
like
Well,
the rest of the movie industry. Like
the
they're only
argument-
gonna make so many Dunes.
The argument I will make, and
Mhm.
like this is also part of why I would not be opposed to Fantastic Four moving, is I'm already sick of the Superman comparisons. I'm already sick of people pitting
Oh,
those
it's
two movies
happening.
against each other.
Get ready.
And I know it's still happening regardless, but it's not going to happen as much if those movies are several months apart from each other as opposed to 2 weeks. I don't think IMAX would mind getting to run Superman for a couple more weeks, like in July, where Fantastic Four was supposed to be.
Mhm.
And then if you move Fantastic Four to Blade slot in like the fall of 2025, Iger still wins in talking about the movie and championing it for 2025. IMAX still wins. Like it seems inevitable at this point.
I
think
just want you to
Fantastic Four- ahead.
I'm sorry to do this to y'all, but I've heard things about pre-production and viz dev on this thing, and let's just say I don't think the visual development people were sitting at home while the strikes were going on. And we know that the people who were supposed to be these people were already cast before that, from Ebon Moss-Bacharach on Jimmy Fallon saying they were
Right.
all cast last August. So
Well, let's say it takes 6 months to film. It's done in January. If they
Mhm.
start in July, which they very well may not roll cameras till August.
That's true. That's
January, February, that gives you 3.5 months, 4 months, maybe 4 months. It's possible. It's possible.
It is possible.
And
It's
they have a
tight, though.
script. Like the number one thing they keep saying is we got to have these scripts done and stop changing things along the way. They have really polished that script many times over on Fantastic Four, and I think they
That's
have one that
true.
they're going to actually shoot. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. On 3, yay or nay, will Fantastic Four release on July 25th, 2025? 1, 2, 3, nay.
Nay.
I'm gonna say yay.
Wow.
God, I hate when I go against Aaron. Aaron's always right.
I've heard things. That's all I'm gonna say. I've heard things. This movie is not in the state that y'all think it's in. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all
All
I'm
I'm
saying.
saying is there's not a
This movie is
single
not-
frame recorded.
The last thing I
Do
will
you need
say,
people to do all the CGI for it necessarily?
Is this going to be some Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes thing where 35 minutes of it is completely animated?
Okay.
I mean, it's possible. It could be. It very well could be. Out. You know,
Go
it's
talk
work.
to Joe. Go talk to Joe off camera, Brandon.
I will
Go
say,
talk to Joe
using,
about it. We talked
using
about it.
Planet of the Apes as an example, they did say that they filmed a lot of that, as much of it as possible, practically. We've seen the original, like the initial teaser art for Fantastic Four. We know like the kind of 60s metropolis city that they're going to have. I'm assuming a lot of that is going to have to be done digitally as well. So
Yeah.
I am just safely assuming that it's going to take Blade's release date. As the chat is saying, they are getting on to my idea that like Blade is not a real movie yet. So if it took if it took Blade's release date, I would not be surprised at all.
All right, we got to keep moving here. We're running a little long. Chris Pratt returning as Star-Lord to join the DC universe. That's what Chris Killian asked him. And we're just going to play the clip. So let's hear
Ask
from
this question.
old
This is the one
Star-Lord
I'm
himself.
contractually obligated for.
Oh.
If you were to wager a bet on where we'll see you next, do you think you'll be suiting up as somebody in DC or returning as Star-Lord?
If I had to wager a bet,
It's just hypothetical.
hypothetical, well, I think it's,
There's no wrong answer here. I want
Right.
to see you everywhere.
yeah, you do?
I've acknowledged this already.
Yes, wow, amazing. Well, probably make more sense that I would be Star-Lord again, but anything is possible, and especially with James over at DC, maybe there's something that would be right over there. Maybe both. How about both?
I
Let's
love
do
both.
I think it's 100% both.
1,000% both.
1,000%.
I mean, you know, I think he was just having fun with it. He doesn't really have any plans for either, it would seem. My takeaway is, yes, he's probably going to be back as Star-Lord. He's open to joining the DC universe. And I want to give Chris Killian props for making the awkward, obligatory, hey, here's an off-topic question moment pretty seamless there. So, yeah. Any thoughts on Chris Pratt and his comments there?
I'm glad he's open to doing both, because I know a lot of actors, once they kind of complete the series of movies or complete the trilogy, they're like, all right, that chapter of my life is done and I'm never coming back to it. But I'm at least excited that he's excited about coming back.
I don't think Chris Pratt says no to roles anymore.
Yeah.
That man is everywhere. He's
I've
doing. He's
not
Garfield.
I have not seen the Orange Cat yet.
Hey, y'all saw the Adam movies review of Garfield, though, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I can't even. This is not the Deadpool episode. I can't quote it. Jesus. Okay. Thor 5. Furiosa hits theaters this Friday. It's directed by George Miller. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy and Thor, Chris Hemsworth. They really enjoyed working together. Chris Hemsworth has been open about how much he wants to work with George Miller. So I asked George Miller, hey, man, Thor 5's probably coming. Here's how that went at the Furiosa junket. Been really open about how much he loved working with you and how he hopes to work with you again. He also has been open about wanting to do another Thor. So as a big fan of superheroes, you almost did a superhero movie once upon a time. Did you guys ever talk about that? Would you ever go work with him on his next Thor
I
iteration?
would work with Chris on anything. I really would. He's a wonderful actor. He's got the full he's got the full range of all the skills. I mean, you've got to be athletic physically, but you also got to be athletic emotionally and intellectually to take on these very, ultimately fairly complex any role really. So I was very lucky with all my cast, and particularly in the way that Anya and Chris matched each other, particularly towards the end of the movie.
Man, that end bumper there from comic book, it really wakes you back up. George Miller, Thor 5. I think it's a cool idea. I like his movie. I also like how practical he makes most of his stuff. I will say one of my criticisms about Furiosa is when it goes into CGI stuff, you can really tell. But other than that, I think George Miller's freaking cool, really cool director. I like his stuff. I mean, he did Happy Feet. Come on now. How y'all feeling?
I would be definitely open for this. I saw some people when this quote was going around being like, how dare you ask George Miller this question? But it's like, you look at his filmography, you look at like the original Mad Max movies, he can get super weird. He can get very ambitious creatively with the ideas that he's doing. I could totally see him taking Thor in a direction that like we've never really seen it, but something that still could kind of like split the difference between the first two movies and Taika's last two movies. So I would be down for it. I don't know if he would ever actually make it happen, but it would be cool.
Yeah. Aaron.
I mean, it would be interesting because that's another person that you wouldn't necessarily have to have old Kev like be looking over their shoulder at George. He knows how to make a movie, so that's wonderful to think about. Also, just it's funny that Chris Hemsworth is such a interesting character that everybody just wants to be his friend and follow him. Like Taika too. They're all like, oh, Sam Hargrave. Everybody's like, no. I get to hang out with the beefy man now, not you. Which is very funny. So probably not going to happen, but would be interesting. They're still looking for that director, and Gareth is over in Dinosaur World now. So,
Well, so that's our movie portion of Phase Zero. Wow, what a chonky show this is! Oh my gosh, we're running late. It's a great opportunity to subscribe to the channel and make sure you check out the rest of our videos because Phase 2 is all about TV and Phase 3 is all about Spider-Man. So with that, we'll see you in a moment.
Welcome to Phase Zero. It is Wednesday, May 22nd, and it is Season 4, Episode 21. We are catching up on a lot of news from the past 2 weeks, including a ton of updates about Marvel TV. And before we even get to all the stuff on the rundown, it looks like one piece of news has dropped while we were recording. So do either of you have the information pulled up? Because I do not.
I don't even know what this Vision show stuff is.
Do. So we got a Vision show as credited to Variety, if I'm not mistaken. Being run by the Star Trek Picard showrunner, Terry Matalas. And this is, I guess, a reworked version, a new version of the previously proposed Vision show.
Vision Quest?
Yes, Vision Quest. And it seems as though Jack Schaefer, they were like, okay, go run Agatha. We'll let someone else like handle our boy Paul Bettany coming back. He's returning. I don't know if there's anybody else confirmed to be returning for this guy. No, there's not. So we'll finally get to catch up with Vision circa 2026 is what it says here in the
it's
report.
2026.
It is.
Wow.
Sure is.
Whoa, it's got a year.
It's got a year.
Interesting.
I'm going to offer like a pie in the sky hope for this show. I would love for this to incorporate the West Coast Avengers in some way because Vision Quest as a concept and just kind of White Vision's tie to the West Coast Avengers, I think it would be a really cool way to kind of like help advance the larger canon and kind of have a bunch of narratives culminate in that show instead of it being just solely a Vision show. But like either way, I'm very excited.
And still no Shang-Chi update.
One day.
Vision's a Theseus goal. Nah, shout out Jeffrey Lee in the comments.
Whew.
Oh my gosh.
All
Well,
right.
that happened, everybody.
That's cool. That's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
exciting. That's pretty exciting stuff.
It is. Oh
Yeah.
man, Jamie's it's just crushing her right now. She's hitting my phone. She's like, why am I not there? I
This
don't
is
know,
like
Jamie,
when
miss you.
Beatty is absent from the show and there's always some sort of Nova update. It's like we just have like a peak show for Jamie and she is not here.
Where it's like Daniel RPK knows when I'm traveling and I can't be on Phase Zero.
On the topic of Jamie, I know she is very sad to be missing this next conversation. So the Disney upfronts were last week, and they offered a lot of Marvel television updates. First of all, Marvel television in and of itself is now a thing. We will be talking about that shortly. We finally got the title for the Agatha show after they initially tweeted and then deleted another fake title and confused everybody. So now the actual title is Agatha All Along. We don't have the release date here, but they did confirm. Isn't it like September, like mid-September, I think, with a 2-episode premiere? So we now know that is on the horizon. So how do we feel about Agatha, first and foremost?
Hype.
I mean, I have to say for Jamie, she did call out that it was a bit immediate. We both had multiple conversations about it being a bit. Shout out to Jamie being absolutely right about all the weird names being a part of like a large multi-level marketing scheme on the part of Marvel.
See, I want to know when it became a bit.
Yeah.
Like, I think they genuinely changed the title, and then they were like, oh, wait, no, we're going to change it. So then they were like, all right, let's really embrace this and make it a thing and just do a bunch of fake titles before we get to the other one. But the title is Agatha All Along, so it could have been a day one thing. But part of me, I want to know. I can't wait for the Assembled episode where they actually tell the truth. And also, by the way, just while we were on this, the X-Men 97 Assembled released a poster, so that's coming to Disney Plus too.
Very
Yeah, I'm excited for Agatha. I hope it's really good. I have a hard time imagining anything lives up to the hype, like the experience of watching WandaVision. But in terms of quality, it very well could.
Also, Patty LuPone talking about it on like the press line for the upfronts is already doing so much free marketing because like the clip of her talking about the show being a musical is like paying for itself. So yeah, I'm very hopeful. I'm very excited. So also at upfronts, we got details about Daredevil Born Again. So the first season will now be 9 episodes as opposed to the 18 that were initially announced. I know we talked about this on the show. I think there were reports hinting at this when Marvel was kind of reconfiguring its TV strategy that it might just be 9 and 9. But now we have confirmation. So how do we feel?
Not surprised.
Yeah.
When they announced 18 episodes at D23, I was like, Jamie was there. I was like, wait, how are they going to do 18 episodes of Daredevil? Like Netflix was 13 at most. And so cutting it in half is a bummer. Like I would have liked to have 13 episodes and really just make this like a 4-month, experience with Daredevil, but longer than 6 is good with me.
9 seems like the de facto like length of these things now. That's what it looks like. I'll be curious to see if Ironheart is 9. That's just what we do now instead of 6. So that's fine. Adam Barnhart almost made it in the company pool. I think he got, I guess, 10. So he was close. So I'll have to go send him and the baby their prize with me running this illegal squares operation that running on the side.
I will say I was always convinced like when they announced the 18 that it was either going to be 3 different sections of 6 episodes or 2 sections of 9 episodes. Because like we did the math on the show a dozen different times. 18 weeks in a row would have been a huge undertaking and would have been a lot for Disney Plus. So I'm glad we now have confirmation. But yeah, in that, then we also have confirmation about Ironheart after years of waiting for this show. It is now confirmed to be debuting in 2025. So how do we feel? I'm very excited. This show could not come fast enough.
I can't wait for Ironheart. I'm curious we don't have any kind of details into whether or not Daredevil or Ironheart will release first, right? We don't know which order those are. I assume Ironheart probably comes first.
They said Daredevil. They said like spring of 2025. Spring, yeah. So.
Oh, okay. So Ironheart's going to be late 2025. They're pushing that thing back further than goodness gracious.
Well, wait a second. Isn't there another show? It's
well, we got one that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
We also have
Animated
Wonder
show.
Man tentatively, but we don't know where and when that would be. So
that's true.
Yeah.
So all right. So Daredevil and Ironheart both confirmed for 25.
Yeah.
Another animation show that we got pretty much hinted. We'll talk about that in a minute. I don't know what else could be in 25 besides Wonder Man. Yeah, I think that's all of it. Armor Wars, right?
See, but that's a movie now.
It is.
Allegedly.
All right.
It is.
So Marvel Television, am I doing this one?
Sure, go for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Brad Winderbaum did an interview with Jenna. And he talked about the Marvel Television banner being attached to all these shows. Marvel Television was what they called themselves when Netflix was making shows with Marvel. Then it became Marvel Studios on Disney Plus. Now it's back to Marvel Television. The more things change, the more Marvel Television stays the same. Quote, we want to make sure that Marvel stays an open door for people to come in and explore. On the heels of Endgame, I think there was maybe a little bit of an obligation to watch absolutely everything in order to watch anything. As you know, as a comics fan, they're designed to just pop in, find something that you like, and use that to enter you into the universe, and then you can explore and weave around based on your own preferences. So part of the rebranding of Marvel Studios, Marvel Television, Marvel Animation, and Marvel Spotlight is to, I think, try and tell the audience you can jump in anywhere. They're interconnected, but they're not. You don't have to watch A to enjoy B. You can follow your bliss. You can follow your own preferences and find the thing you want within the tapestry of Marvel. End quote. Thoughts.
Bravo for channeling Jamie and reading a very long quote very well. I just have to say
Thank you. Trying to do it proud.
Having heard this directly from Brad, I'm so glad that this is now the branding that they're using. I'm glad that it's now just Marvel Animation, Marvel Television, and Marvel Studios. I feel like it's a small thing, but it kind of speaks volumes. And I think between that and the Spotlight banner, they're just kind of telling people like you don't have to follow every single installment, and like that's totally okay. So I'm happy with it.
I have thoughts, but
interesting.
I'm gonna go last.
Why do you need someone to tell you that? Like that's how all TV, all movies really work when you really think about it. Like, what did you really miss if you start Fast and Furious at Fast 5 or the 4th one? What did you
Drift,
really
baby?
miss? Yeah, and I love it. That's my favorite one. I got bad taste, but like I don't understand. Like you don't need to do everything. Like we watched Fast X without watching. I think 8. We watched 9 because John Cena was in it. Like, And Cardi B. But like, this is how all stuff works. It's just funny that they have to do this to tell everybody to like not be afraid of their own shadow, which I feel like there's a ton of that coming from all corners of the MCU right now, where people are just getting told not to be afraid of their own shadow. And it's like, this has all been true, but they need someone that you all like or respect or whatever have you to say it to you instead, because we've all worked ourselves into shoots, which is silly.
See, here's where I'm at. While I think it is a smart business play to make it feel accessible to anyone, so you don't feel like you have to watch 100-something hours of content just to watch the newest thing, Avengers Endgame absolutely is not Avengers Endgame without the 18 or whatever movies before it, without watching each and every one of them. For maximum experience, to be hooting and hollering and yapping in the theater, you had to understand Cap almost picked up that hammer in Age of Ultron. You know, you had to really see 2012 and understand why the hell that was so cool to go back to 2012. I think one of the biggest successes of the MCU from 2008 to 2019 was its interconnected nature and the accessibility that interconnected nature also came with. And then in 2021 and 2022, they said, here's 7,000 things. And then it became a problem when there was too much to keep up with because audiences were not on board with watching everything, and things were quite starting to shake up a bit. I'll always argue against the fact that all Marvel movies and the Infinity Saga are the same, but like they were close enough that you kind of knew what you were going to get. Now we're leaning into horror, we're leaning into all kinds of things that aren't for everyone. So you do have to label this differently. Werewolf by Night was a horror thing. Doctor Strange had some horror elements. Shang-Chi's a kung fu movie. Spider-Man was like the most Marvel movie of all the Marvel movies so far. Black Widow spy movie, all that like it's all kind of, they're all different, but what I'm getting at is, as a fan who's going to watch all of it, I want to feel like they're connected. My biggest complaint about the Multiverse Saga so far is it hasn't really felt that way like it did before. Not as much anyway, and I've been very open about that. So I kind of get both sides of this. I don't think it was ever the interconnected, like watch it all was the problem. I think it was the amount of stuff we were getting was just right for audience, for those mainstream audiences to show up every time a movie released, and the quality was all really there. And I think lately it's been a little hit and miss. Some projects have been rushed, and there's just been so many projects that like they're just stepping on each other. We had a new episode of Loki when Black Widow hit theaters, like things like that. So
I will also argue, I would not be surprised if this has to do with the writer strikes, because I know we kind of talked about it in the past with like the head writer versus showrunner stuff and how they've started changing the terminology. I would not be surprised if like bringing back the Marvel Television banner is part of just A, like feeding into what was negotiated in the strikes, and B, just like kind of leaning into the stuff that they're changing about Marvel Television and like how it is actually produced.
I like these comments here from Stamina MC and Eric Cheney. Marvel Steak catering for people to potentially watch their content more so than the ones that actually do. That I think is an issue every studio faces. I think that's a big problem for anything that becomes a franchise. And Eric says there's not enough direct content to do a choose your own adventure. They need to stay connected. That's the thing. I have a hard time imagining someone's going to just pop in for Wonder Man that isn't a Marvel fan. I have a hard time imagining someone's going to like pop in for Vision Quest if they didn't watch WandaVision and Avengers Endgame. But it's the smartest business decision. That is 100%. I get it. You have to appeal to as many people as possible, and that's what keeps the thing going. So I get it. But we got to move on. We are taking way too much time here. What If Season 3 is likely the next animated show? It's probably coming next year by the sounds of this. This is what Brad said to Jenna in that interview. You can find all this on comicbook.com/Marvel. Jenna, I believe your question was something like, what is the next project?
Yes.
And he said,
it was like I asked about Spider-Man and Eyes of Wakanda, and then he told me all of the what if stuff in addition to that.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So this is his quote. What if Season 3 is, that might be the one that comes out next. In terms of animation, that is the culmination of a trilogy. We're actually close to completing that one, and it really feels like you've gone through this amazing emotional experience with Uatu in a way that's what's great about The Watcher is that he presents himself as uncaring and cold and just an observer, but he cares more than everybody and anybody. That is on full display in that third season. I'm very excited for that. I thought Season 2 was fantastic.
I'm surprised it's this soon. Like, I assumed we were going to get either Spider-Man or Eyes of Wakanda and then probably What If. But, like, obviously we've seen, like, the initial stills. We saw, like, the clip that they put out shortly after Season 2. So, like, it seems like they're ready, which is crazy. But, like, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, they were obviously in the pipeline. This is one of the only shows that was working the entire time through the pandemic, all the way through. I am sad. I wonder how much like AC worked on before she departed, which is like a big part of what made the first 2 seasons so enjoyable. But yeah, I mean, we're all down for more What If.
Yeah, I loved season 2, so I hope it keeps that quality. It doesn't sound like we're going to get X-Men season 2 in 2025, though, which is a huge bummer, in my opinion. This is what Brad Winderbaum said to Jenna. You can find the full article on comicbook.com/Marvel. It's, quote, it's still an animatic phase. Animation takes so long to make, as I'm sure you know. There was a great bit about this in Invincible season 2. They just nailed it so hard. It is the greatest, and it takes a long time because the studio wants to see how successful the first season is before they greenlight the second season. There's a lag. We were lucky enough to get the green light before we aired, so there's maybe less of a lag. People are just going to have to be patient with us. I like the end quote. I like the Invincible reference. Invincible had a joke that was straight from the comics where they talked about how if you animate it, but you put the animation on the person who's hearing it rather than having to animate the person's mouth, like it makes it all go a little bit quicker. And there's sort of ways that you can save money and time in animation. But it sounds like X-Men 97 is still quite a bit of ways from being ready for season 2, which to me sucks. I want these things to be year after year. I remember the time when TV shows would just release a season every year, but now we're in the streaming era and that never happens anymore. So yeah.
My hope is that they fast track it, considering how insanely popular season 1 was. Like, we know that they've been working on it. We know that it's in progress, but like, I would not be surprised if maybe by like the end of 2025, we maybe start getting season 2, or we at least know when it's coming.
Yeah. I think we'll know in 2025. Maybe we get it at the end of the year. But look at Invincible. Invincible was hugely popular after season 1. It's not as popular because they had like 3 years in between. I don't think it's be 3 years between X-Men 97 and season 1 and 2, but yeah, that makes a difference. All right, last thing here real quick. Mike Coulter was asked by Chris Killian about returning as Luke Cage, and he said, quote, I would totally entertain a good script, an idea that made sense. I don't stay up at night thinking about it, nor do I recall it unless someone brings it up. But I enjoyed my time. I don't look in the past. If something comes up, great. We'll talk about it. But right now, I'm past it. So he seems to be the only actor who's openly like, I don't really give a shit. Luke Cage, weird to see everyone else return, but not Mike Coulter, in my opinion. But what do you guys think?
I still love the bit we were saying of like he should just walk by the Daredevil set with like just getting coffee or something and just blow up the internet. Like that would be very funny. I'm glad that he has so many different projects and that he is still like employed and having all of these different things. But so I don't blame him for having this outlook, but I feel like we could still see him eventually at some point.
I wouldn't be shocked if he comes back.
And at this point, especially if Born Again does well and he hasn't already signed on, you can pretty much write that the 4 of them will be in something just because, or actually it'll be the 5 or so, whatever. How do you feel about Iron Fist BD?
I think Jessica Hennick will come back.
Yeah, I think so too.
That would be awesome.
We already got Bernthal back, so yeah, all stuff's as old as new again, guys.
Big John Bernthal guy. All right, we're going to take one more break. This is a great opportunity to subscribe to the Phase Zero channel, share our show with your friends, drop a comment in the comment section, leave us a 5-star review, all that stuff. And when we come back, we're talking all about Spider-Man in the next phase of Phase Zero, Season 4, Episode 21. So we'll see you there.
Welcome back to Phase Zero, Season 4, Episode 21. It's Wednesday, May 22nd, and we're swinging into just Spider-Man news here in Phase 3. Just so much Spider-Man news. If you were just in life last week and heard a loud scream wherever you were, it was Jamie, because Spider-Man Noir is actually happening. A live-action Spider-Man Noir series starring Nick Cage. Jamie and her legion of fans, they all won. Variety reports that the untitled series will follow an older, grizzled superhero in 1930s New York City. An individual with knowledge of the project says that the show will be set in its own universe and the main character will not be Peter Parker. So that's Oren Uziel and Stephen Lightfoot are the showrunners. Phil Lord, Chris Miller, and Amy Pascal are all EPs, right? This is like, so we're just getting everybody back together. I know a lot of the fans will celebrate, but as soon as you hear the words Lord and Miller, you're like, well, we don't have to worry about this thing. It's going to be fine. Vernon Sanders, who's the head of television for Amazon MGM Studios said, expanding the Marvel Universe with Noir is uniquely special opportunity, and we are honored to bring this series to our global Prime Video customers. The extremely talented Nicolas Cage is an ideal choice for our new superhero, and the accomplished product producing team with Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, and Amy Pascal, and all the incredible team of Sony is dedicated to expanding this franchise in the most authentic way. So, Spider-Man Noir.
I find it funny that it's not titled Spider-Man, that it's just titled Noir. That is just very funny. That is going to be an interesting like uphill battle in terms of the marketing, but I'm excited that it's real. It's surreal that it's real. Even like when they put this into development and it was like, oh, it might not be Nicolas Cage. I was like, that is a very heavy, that's like, those are big shoes to fill in terms of trying to do that character and emulate what Nicolas Cage did. So I'm excited.
I just feel like they're not even going to treat him like Spider-Man. They're just going to treat him like Noir because that's what every Sony project does. It refuses to include Spider-Man. Potential future parent company, Sony. But the two things that make me excited about this, not only Lord and Miller, are Oren Uziel and Steve Lightfoot. A couple projects I want to shout out, and I'm highlighting the good ones because everybody has some misses. But Oren did 22 Jump Street. Big fan. I think that movie's hilarious. And the new Mortal Kombat, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but Mortal Kombat fans seem to dig it. But you're picking up a tone there. And Stephen Lightfoot, The Punisher series for Netflix. So I think there's a big possibility this show is dope. And obviously Lord and Miller bring all that goodness that they brought to Spider-Verse, Lego Movie, everything they've done. I hope this actually happens. It's one of those things that I'm like, is this like, will we see this? But given that this has like been ordered to series by Amazon, big promising update, big promising step.
So on that topic, a couple days after Noir was confirmed, outlets started kind of wondering, what about Silk Spider Society? Because that was the first show that was announced as part of this kind of Amazon Sony TV partnership with Spider-Man. And so then reports came out saying that Silk Spider Society is not moving forward at Amazon, but that it could end up being shopped elsewhere. It's just kind of like the ball is in Sony's court at this point. This has been in the works for so long. Angela Kang, who BD is going to have a lot of thoughts on because of The Walking Dead, was attached to showrun the show, and reports have indicated that they went through multiple evolutions in this whole process, and that some of the notes that they were given later in the process were literally to make the show less about Silk and more about male characters, which is absolutely nuts to me. I just need to say that when Amazon has shows that are geared towards young women, like The Summer I Turned Pretty is a huge hit on Amazon. They could easily make Silk a show in that kind of vein while still being a superhero show and absolutely succeed. So it sucks that it's not in development there anymore, but I'm almost glad that we're not doing the male-centric version.
Yeah, the thing that bums me out most is that it was an Angela Kang project that's not happening. As you said, I am a huge fan of Angela Kang, the talent and the person. She did such a great job on The Walking Dead. She treated everybody there so well. She's such a kind person with so much talent and so many good ideas. I have no doubt that Angela Kang would have made a very interesting and good and fun Silk series if it was the series that they probably originally hired her for. It sounds like it became not that, and then eventually it now is nothing. But they're apparently still doing a whole Spider-Man universe on Amazon. Bullshit. Like, I'm sorry. I don't believe it. There's apparently a Spider-Man universe in the movies, too. Guess what? There's no Spider-Man. I'll believe it when I see it. That's the only way I could sum it up. I know that we have people of all ages watching. There's just no other way to describe that. We get one per show.
Yeah.
What we do? Everybody gets one.
Does anybody buy this?
Like you said, I'll believe it when I see it. I have lived through, just as a fan and as someone in this industry, I've lived through so many life cycles of cinematic universes and things that are happening. Today is literally the Dark Universe announcement anniversary. So, like, we've lived through so many of these. I will believe it when I see it. I don't doubt that they want to do it. It's just a thing of like when one of your first projects is already falling through and it had to be completely changed multiple times over. I don't know. I'm sure Aaron has thoughts. I'm very curious what you have to say.
You know, in a previous life, you know, I used to like follow a lot of these sort of like long developing, long gestating video game projects, and that's the same kind of like odor I'm getting off of a lot of this stuff. Yes, I'm sure people will enjoy Nicolas Cage being a hard-boiled detective in a black and white filter for 8 to 12 episodes. Like, it'll be great. But like the other stuff, for there to be a universe, there has to be other shows, right? You would think. Like in a rhizomatic like organism, there have to be tendrils for the tree to make sense. We have a sad little branch. It looks like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree right now. Just the saddest state of affairs you can possibly imagine. So I don't know what's gonna happen. Obviously, I'm still wondering: is Donald Glover still making Hypno Hustler or whatever it is? Is that still happening? He's making Mr. and Mrs. Smith season 2. I know that. That's going on. That has a whole lot more momentum, right? So yeah, I don't know. And the funny thing is, Randy, this is Grosjean in the comments, like, how much was it be for Disney to buy back Spider-Man? Goodness gracious. Imagine you had a goose leg gold neck, so that's the only thing in your house. You don't have any furniture. You got the Reddit rate my room setup going on. You're not going to sell them the goose. No. They would charge an insane amount of money. So I guess we're just kind of stuck in this holding pattern. Although, Madam Web #1 on Netflix. Hey. Brandon's so bad. This whole thing is put him in a bad mood.
That's my trigger word.
Yeah.
That is. I'm going to go out of order on these because I'd like to end the show on some good news. So
go ahead.
I'm going to go to Craven. Every once in a while, I send a tweet from Phase Zero, and I just hope it reaches. I got to reshoot that because my camera knocked, and I might make this a social clip.
Okay.
Every once in a while, I send a tweet from the Phase Zero account, and I hope it reaches the right audience. I tweeted about Craven being delayed, and it certainly found the right audience. 1 million impressions later, everybody understands the humor of this next bit of news. Craven the Hunter was delayed to December because, according to producer Matt Tolmach at Sony, quote, Craven moved to Christmas because we're excited about it, and Christmas is the best release period there is. When you get people with time to go back to the movies over and over again. That was a real reflection of how the studio felt about the movie. We're really excited, but that's a great move that reflects just the feeling about the movie. End quote. So there you have it. Craven has been moved to December, not because the movie's unfinished, not because they're fixing things, but because it's so good that Sony and the producers believe we will be buying tickets to see Craven over and over and over again. We'll be bringing our kids and our grandparents. There's nothing we'd rather do on December 25th, or even New Year's Eve for that matter, than go see Craven doing his hunting. In fact, I am so in line with this that I think that's the reason why 2024's box office to this point, at the equivalent point last year, is $600 million down. Everybody's saving their money to go see Craven over and over again. This is a result of Madam Web. I don't mean to be a dick. This is just what happens, okay? I want the movie to be good. I'm actually quite excited for this movie, at least a little bit. But after Morbius burned me with those trailers, I bought in, and then Madam Web became what it was. I feel no need not to have a little bit of fun talking about this stuff. Like, it's all in good fun. Sorry, Matt Tolmach. You're great. I'm pretty sure I've interviewed Matt Tolmach. But it's just the Sony Spider-Man stuff just continues to disappoint in the fact that they market Spider-Man and Morbius, don't put them in there, and then Madam Web is a web that connects absolutely nothing, not even its own story. So Craven, hopefully it's good. I will guaranteed watch it and interview people and hope it's a good movie and share my thoughts on it honestly. But that's that.
Craven sweep. I love that you're like, oh, grandparents and children are all going to go to this movie, in which, as the chat is pointing out, he like bites somebody's nose off. Like,
oh yeah, it's rated R. Wait, isn't this movie rated R?
Yes.
What?
At this point in time, it's rated R. We broke PD. We completely broke PD. My only comment is, it is so funny to me that a Venom movie basically started filming and ended filming and will be released in the time it has taken Craven to be released. Like, that is my only comment in this regard. Aaron?
I'll go so Brandon doesn't have to.
Yeah.
The funniest thing about this to me is that these strikes screwed this movie over, like completely. That's what really the underscore thing here. Because remember, what Brandon Davis was like, there's no way this movie's gonna be worse than Madam Web. And every week that goes by makes me go, oh my God, but what if it's not? But what if it's not better than Madam Web? What if it's worse? And the decisions they're making do not indicate confidence. I mean, Christmas aside, I know people have different traditions with their families over the holiday breaks. They do different things. I know friends who go to like Chinese food restaurants and things like that. But I don't know if we're going to the movie theater 3 times to see Christmas, like to see Craven Christmas. I don't know if we're going to do that. Wouldn't it be funny if they just had Aaron Taylor Johnson just remake The Earnests, Jenna?
If they won't do it with Venom, they might as well.
He's so mad down the corner. For those of you listening at home, Brandon is like despondent, okay? Not happy about any of this right now.
Like, I business decision, I get it. Put the movie around the holidays. It is a time when people go to the movies and hype up your movie. I just like, I'm so tired of these Spider-Man spinoffs that don't have anything to do with Spider-Man. And like this, the lack of sensibility in them. That Morbius post-credit scene was the stupidest. I've already used our one S word for the show, but that I've ever seen. Venom went to the MCU and then left as fast as he got there. It felt like what's going on? I want it to make sense. I care about these characters. I'm gonna watch the movies. I want them to be good. And honestly, I'm telling you, I've seen is the Craven trailer online?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay, I remember I saw like a trailer at CinemaCon, and then shortly after that, they released the trailer online. The footage, like it looks, and I like Aaron Taylor Johnson quite a bit. Honestly, I like Aaron Taylor Johnson a lot. I love Bullet Train. That said, I don't like this Spider-Man spinoff world, and I want to. Like, I just want these movies to be good. So we'll see.
It also did seem like the last thing I'll say, like, I remember Sony announced this date and the Karate Kid movie changing at the same exact time. And like, this was Karate Kid's old date. And then they moved it so the new Karate Kid movie could come out after Cobra Kai. So it seems like that might have also been a huge part of the decision. And then now they're just justifying the Craven move by saying what they have been saying. So,
and maybe it's also weathering the storm thing. Nobody's going to the movies right now. Like, people are not nobody, but it seems like the story after every movie releases, look at Fall Guy, look at If. The commentary becomes, wow, it underperformed. And it's not just Marvel movies. So maybe they're thinking by December, our recession and depression will end. But we'll see. Craven's here to save us all and sweep everything. But on a better note, we're going to end this on a much higher note. Spider-Man 4, according to rumors and everybody online, including, I'm pretty sure the subpoena, can we get some toast account or whatever it is, that has been leaking so much crap that I try to avoid because I don't want spoilers. See, that's the difference between news and like a leak. I like news. I don't like plot points. I don't like that stuff to be out there. And a lot of these accounts will put plot points out there. A lot of accounts will. And I try to avoid that stuff. But all the Twitter scoopers and stuff now are starting to hint that a Spider-Man 4 director is going to be revealed soon, which is the kind of news I like to hear. That's news I like to hear. That's a rumor I'll buy into and get excited about. Jeff Snyder also says that it could be Adil and Bilal, who just did Bad Boys Ride or Die, previously did Bad Boys for Life and Ms. Marvel and the never-to-be-seen Batgirl movie. I've seen Bad Boys Ride or Die, by the way. I loved it. Like, genuinely loved that movie. I also love Bad Boys for Life, and I think Ms. Marvel is a very good show. So I think Adil and Bilal are very inventive in their character work, in their action scenes, all that stuff, and I think they would probably be pretty good fits for a Spider-Man movie, I gotta say.
Having spoke to them about Ms. Marvel and being someone who will like go to my deathbed still being sad about Batgirl, I love this decision. I think that it would be so great to see them get a superhero movie and kind of like get retribution for what happened with Batgirl. I also just like that one POV shot of the gun flying across the room in the Bat Boys trailer. I love it every single time I see it.
Wait till you see that full scene.
I'm sure I have not even really watched any of those movies, but like that moment, every time I see the trailer, I'm like, haha, that's very cool. So I am very on board. I think they could do some really inventive stuff with like web slinging. So I'm on board if this ends up being true.
Let's not forget they also had that one, among the many good things they did in Ms. Marvel, that one shot where the camera follows over and goes upside down and all that kind of, like, they're so inventive. When you see that shot you just described in Bad Boys Ride or Die, that is like a continuous shot that starts on a drone and goes into like it is such a cool action scene. Like, these guys are going to continue to be hugely successful. And I think Spider-Man 4 would benefit from having them. Aaron, what do you think?
I mean, that's a good choice that no one had brought up. That was my first thing. As I was like, man, I don't know how people feel about Bad Boys. I don't know how people feel about Will Smith. I am a fan. I'm jealous that BD got to go watch it. I'm jealous
love
that he got
both.
to dap Will Smith up.
I'll
But
make one
I
thing clear.
also really
I
am
love both.
excited. I'm a Miss Marvel person. It's me and Matt Aguilar with swords until the death, like Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. Like, I'm excited to see if they were the choices. I'd be really, really ecstatic about it because the action sequences and stuff would be there. So that's
I grew up on Will Smith and Martin Lawrence movies. Bad Boys, National Security, Blue Streak. Come on.
yeah. I'm
Independence Day.
I
I
brought
love
up
Will
Black
Smith and
Knight
Martin.
the other
Black
last
Knight?
week.
Oh my
It's really
God,
funny.
Black Knight. What? I love that movie. These are such good movies, man. And Dylan Bilal brought out the best of these guys. And these guys, like, it's one of those cases where they're not getting any younger and they're still doing action movies. And they look like absolute stars in Bad Boys Ride or Die. So I like it. I like the idea.
By the way, there's no way that Batgirl is worse than 80% of the things that have come out in the last 2 years. I refuse to believe it. Someone out there leak it. I still have hope. One day, me and Jenna will be old and we'll be like, they actually found it. It's not that bad.
I will be so happy.
There's no way it's not better than The Strangers Chapter 1, Madam Web, and Morbius.
Wow.
Batgirl had to be better than
No
those.
chance. There's no
Like, I mean,
way.
those are some of the worst movies I've seen in the past couple years, though.
Okay.
So there's no way it's down. I mean,
You're just saying that about the strangers because they tried to scare you.
listen. They did. They did.
Oh no.
They did. I'm sorry, strangers, but I got to be honest. It just wasn't. That movie was not very good. But all right, that's our show today. That was a huge episode. If you're new to Phase Zero, welcome to the show. If you're joining us back, welcome back. You're welcome anytime. We do this every Wednesday. We're going to figure out if we are going to do our X-Men, Dark Phoenix, Road to Deadpool and Wolverine review on Monday. We will keep you posted on that. We'll tweet it. We'll share it, on all the places we keep you guys updated, or we'll just go live and you can find it that way because it'll be available after the fact anyway. So thank you for that. I want to give 2 shout outs, one to Beckford Designs and another to Fit Dad CEO. 2P2 Phase Zero listeners, I met both of y'all recently this week, and you guys were both awesome to hang out with and talk to. And every time I meet somebody who listens to us yap about this stuff, it is genuinely the most bizarre, flattering experience in the entire world. So thank you guys for being such awesome friends of the show. And yeah, so Jen, any last words for today's show?
It's at Hey It's Jenna Lynn on social media. As always, go read some comics and go to comicbook.com. Check out all of the spin-outs from my chat with Brad Winderbaum. It was so surreal this whole weekend. Every time I opened up Twitter, seeing like Deadline and Variety and all of these other outlets write up quotes that I got. Like, that was the coolest thing ever. And I also talked to X-Men 97 directors Chase Conley and Emmett Yanamura, and that was a really, really fun chat. We do have the video of that on the site, and it's going to be on the YouTube channel very soon. So keep an eye out for that.
Do have to give a bravo to Jenna for that interview with Brad. Every time I open Twitter as well, I was seeing that get picked up everywhere. I was seeing from Deadline, Variety, Culture Crave, everywhere in between. Everybody was picking up everything that you got Brad to talk about. And thanks to Brad for always being such a great interview and supporter of the show. I think interviewing Brad is so cool. Now that you've had that one-on-one experience, he's so thoughtful, right? He's such a good, and you can just tell he's being honest.
Yes, it was amazing. Like, you can tell, and he had the right vibe, like, from the jump. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Aaron, any last words for today's show?
It's at Some Like Hornet on Twitter. I'd like to thank Brad Winderbaum for watching the show. Just like y'all. That's great. Thank you. I wonder if his dog listens to it too.
I want to apologize to Brad Winderbaum because he watches the show.
Personally.
I want us to go to y'all have seen Brad Winderbaum's office in the background of those interviews. I'm not gonna lie, with the original pitch that I sent for that interview, I was like, can we do the interview in his office? Unfortunately, that didn't work out. But Brad, if you ever want to have us in the office, man, we'd love to chat it up with you. We'll do a whole hour long with you just talking about the stuff you have.
Yeah.
Sorry, Aaron, I cut you off. My bad.
Okay. It's okay. I talked to Jay Castorena, director of X-Men 97, about all of the X-Men 97. I saw someone actually mention, funny enough, I don't know if he was being like funny, but like a part of the interview where I asked about the Black Panther of it all, and that has gotten some pickup on certain parts of Twitter. You can go look at that in the Phase Zero YouTube channel. That was a good time. It's very funny to be like, have you seen this interview? And then I get to do that thing from the comment panel where I'm like, I am the manager. I did it myself. So yeah, go watch that.
All right, y'all. That's our show today. Thank you so much to everybody who listens and watches with us on Phase Zero. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on, all that good stuff. Please share our show. Play it for your mom. Play it for your dog. Go watch the X Mansion tour. That video keeps climbing in views from that Airbnb. There is a 20-minute video on our channel showing you the full inside of that X Mansion they built to support X-Men 97. It's awesome to see you guys enjoying that video. And we will be back next week with some new episodes for you. Have a wonderful long weekend, everybody. If you're at Star Wars The Acolyte tomorrow, give me a shout. And if you have any questions for those folks, shout them to me on social media. We'll see you real soon, everybody. Leave 5-star review, play our show for your mom, play it for your dog. I already said it, but that's how I have to end the show. Goodbye.